welcome to the Real Alaska Podcast. I am your host, Justin, and my lucky sidekick,
Billy Hughes. Welcome to the podcast, everyone.
And then we are here with...
Adam Crum. I'm the commissioner for the Department of Revenue for the state of Alaska.
That's a long one.
A little bit. I wanted to say sidekick too, but...
So you can be a sidekick, dude.
I'll be a sidekick. You have a dope spot right here.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we put a lot of love into it.
This isn't Alaska. It's fancy.
It is. I know. I'm trying to un-Alaska some stuff, you know. by I say that as in like, take us not a decade plus behind.
I get it. We can have nice things and then still wear extra tufts.
That's right.
Yeah, 100%.
You gotta be able to do both, you know.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. You just get shit done and still wear cards.
Yeah.
When I'm not wearing this, I'm wearing waders, you know.
I mean, you're by Ship Creek. You have to. Yeah, apparently, based on the post by the bait shack, apparently they're just
they're
rocking down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're already like deep in a rabbit hole and we just started. So it's Alaska dress. Well, anyways, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking time out of your super busy schedule to actually be here. I know you guys got a lot going on. You already kind of preemptively struck before we even got into the chairs. So what you want to explain to the audience, like what you guys do at the Department of Revenue?
Yeah. Alaska's a unique state in that my role typically in other states is usually like 2 or 3 spots because I collect the taxes and then my job is to invest for the state of Alaska.
Okay.
So usually that's divided up. But, the taxes that we do collect that really fund the state government is really about corporate income tax or oil and gas production taxes. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, though, it's a professional board member, essentially. So all the state investment boards, Permanent Fund Corporation, the Alaska Industrial Development Export Authority, or ADA, Alaska Housing, the Alaska Retirement Management Board. So a lot of dollar accounts represent that for the state.
Yeah.
As a fiduciary and a trustee for about over $135 billion. So we have a lot of cash here in Alaska.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's more cash than I would have expected, actually.
I was like, how many zeros is that?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of zeros. Yeah.
So day-to-day operations-wise, what, and you have an awesome staff, by the way. You got a super solid team. What do you guys do like day-to-day wise?
Yeah, so underneath me, we got 4 divisions. There's Treasury. Their job is to actually invest the dollars.
Yep.
And so Treasury is responsible for investing the $43 billion that's in the retirement system, both defined benefits and defined contribution, as well as the $10 billion of state cash accounts. So they invest that. So that's a part of the job, making sure there's various compliance meetings, a lot of reports on that. Treasury takes care of that. Then there's tax. Tax collects all of the excise taxes, the corporate income tax, all of those things that we had mentioned. That is a lot of policy stuff. It's meeting with stakeholders. It's assessing for oil and gas property tax. And then there's a whole bunch of adjudications and audits throughout the year that go through. Then there is the Child Support Enforcement Division.
Fun.
So it's a unique one that got placed under revenue. A lot of that is actually a lot of federal rules that we have to do. It's a very big division.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of people to do that on that one. It's a self-sustaining beast. You're just there to kind of help provide support.
Right.
How do we actually tweak things to make it a little bit easier to serve Alaskans? That's what the goal. And then the 4th one, which affects everybody in Alaska, the Permanent Fund Dividend Division.
Yeah, that's the hot button one.
That's the hot button. I'm surprised
we do
they mixed child enforcement. I'm surprised that they mixed child support in with that.
Yeah.
'Cause it seems like that would take a lot of people.
It does. It's a couple hundred employees. And it's unique in the fact that it's under what's called the federal as a Title IV program, which also child welfare is as well. When I was at the health department, OCS, child welfare is there. So they have to be arm's length from each other. You've got child welfare versus the child support separate.
Yep.
And it just got housed at Department of Revenue years ago.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
To the point about the Permanent Fund Dividend Division.
I like how the smirk.
We do not set the dividend. We just cut the check.
Right.
Okay.
So we run the application program for Alaskans January 1st through March 31st, and they apply, and then we actually get that check out the door in September.
Okay. Hot button item here because the legislature just voted on all this stuff is the PFD.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we have a ton of cash, but yet all the legislatures are battling over cents and saying we're broke. So maybe you can help educate
shine a little
the
light.
common person on why they're saying that, because I know, I'm someone educated, so I know we don't have access to all capital to make things go away, right? Like they have limited ability to access the permanent fund and everything else. So maybe you could kind of clarify some misnomers for the average resident on what they have access to and why there's a fiscal challenge.
Yeah. So using round numbers, the state budget for what's called unrestricted general funds, and that's the available amount of funds that actually there's some discretion over, but sometimes a good chunk of it there's really not, because some of it you have to have for federal match, for Medicaid, for highway dollars. That's about $6 billion. The total budget, including federal dollars, is about $15 billion.
Okay.
So those are just round numbers. Up until about 8 years ago, upwards of 90% of the state budget on an annual basis was determined from oil and gas production taxes.
Yeah.
When we moved to the POMV draw, this is the percent of market value draw. It's a 5% draw of the total value of the permanent fund. So you take that value, and it's an averaged out over 5 years. And it's the first 5 of the last 6 years. And so we know at the start of each fiscal year what the coming fiscal year amount is going to be.
Smart.
When we started doing that, that actually made the Permanent Fund Corporation the largest portion of unrestricted state revenues.
Okay.
So for FY26 or FY25, it was $3.8 billion. And so that was
5% of that.
Yeah. In FY26, that's $3.9 billion. It's about 60% of our unrestricted dollars. So of that $6 billion number, roughly, 60% of that is actually coming from the Permanent Fund Corporation.
Okay.
And so when they talk about issues around cash flow, it usually has to do because we have a 2-account structure. In 1976, when we set up via constitutional amendment the Permanent Fund Corporation, you had the corpus and you had the earnings reserve account.
Yeah.
So those 2 accounts were actually set up. The corpus to protect it forever, and the earnings reserve was any money and earnings that were spun off over time and filled. So the POMV is money that is paid out of the earnings reserve account. So our issue is there is a limited amount of funds available in the earnings reserve account over time. We have to make sure that we have amount for the future POMV draws, and then the balance of the state budget is based off of mainly oil and gas taxes. So call it 30%. So that little bit there that flex up and down, that really is the delta between how much money we have. We have a certainty from the POMV, and then oil, if it goes up, we have more money, and if oil goes down, we have less money.
Yeah.
Because about 8 to 9% is mining taxes, fishing, other little excise taxes.
Right.
It's not a huge number.
Not a big number. So what's the balance point on price per barrel for the state to be fully funded and have a little bit of operational wiggle room?
Depends on which budget level you're talking about. But really, the sweet spot for us seems to be in the mid 60s.
Okay.
Ideally, upwards in the high 60s, if not into the 70s. If we're over the 70s, we actually are doing really well, and that's average throughout the year.
Do we know what the average price per barrel right now is?
Right now, it's down to about $73 a barrel, I think.
So we're looking pretty good then, based on those metrics.
That is today, and then we use the futures market for the projections.
That should be interesting because I think that American oil is going to be a little bit more valuable in the next coming months.
It probably is. There's some adjustment. When they built the FY26 budget, that was based off of our spring revenue forecast, which actually was down to about $60 a barrel. But I think it's a little higher than that over the time. But the one of the issues with how we do our budgeting, though, is it's based off of future dollars. We set a budget based off of money that we hope to come in on current numbers, which is this weird kind of backwards thing.
Yeah. Well, you have to project, and you have to go off of what you have.
You do a little bit. But states like Texas, for example, they do a biannual budgeting process. And so they actually are able to project, and they get 55% of their revenue on an ongoing, consistent basis just from sales tax.
And you said ours was like closer to 30, right?
60% from POMV and 30% from oil.
Okay.
So we do, for the first time in state history, have a little bit more certainty. That does help.
That is nice. So when legislatures are saying that we're broke, right? There's no money in the state. They're mainly talking because the oil's down or the futures of oil are down, right? And the price per barrel. So they're not seeing the budget match the expenditures, right?
Yeah.
And that's an annual budgeting. Do you think it would make sense to do a biannual budgeting given the projections?
The hard part is we'd have to buy our way there. We'd have to have enough savings built up to actually create a buffer over that.
Gotcha.
So while Texas has a comptroller that's elected, at the start of each legislative session, they say how much revenue you're going to have for each year for the next 2 years.
Right.
Is what he gives to the legislature.
Got it.
So you have to kind of buy your way there. You know, and when it comes to the oil prices too, it's a function of what is current production, what is future production, as well as against our current tax base. So we have a lot of oil and gas activity going on. The Willow project, the Pica project, and there is billions that is being dumped into capital that has actually seen our GDP grow for 2 years. It's pretty exciting. But because we have what's called a net tax for our oil, capital expenditures and operating expenditures actually get to defer the tax over time because it costs so much money to develop. It's so much money and so long that it's not cash flow positive to the state for quite a while after a project starts, but it does create a very long tail.
Right. And I saw the guy that discovered Pica discovered another find.
Bill Armstrong.
Yeah, did you see? I just read something about that.
He is the Daddy Warbucks of Alaska.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Bill knows rocks.
Sounds like we got to get him on the podcast.
Bill, and he is a character too.
Yeah, love it, man.
But yeah, he's the Sockeye 2 project on the east side of Prudhoe, which a lot of people, Badami's side, they've struggled to find that, but he's been able to find it, and based on the initial analysis, is a pretty narrow pay, but it's very long. It's stratified out. And he's the guy who identified the formations at Pica and Willow over time, and he knows rocks in Alaska. He's done a very good job of doing it.
That's cool. Sounds like a cool guy to meet.
So it sounds like Daddy War Rocks.
Yeah.
Not War Bucks.
War rocks. I like that.
Okay. So I know we have talked before in depth about PFD and where you had some ideas on how we can probably stabilize the state's budget by joining the two accounts in PFD. So maybe go into into that a little bit if you want to, and then kind of talk about why that may be a good idea.
Yeah. So right now the permanent fund made the news last week. Actually, we hit an all-time high of about $83.5 billion. But right now it's divided between those two accounts. And we have to do accounting based upon inflation proofing because that's part of the intent is for intergenerational equity. Because I think it was Elmer Rasmussen said that inflation is the thief in the night. And so you have to protect against that so the spending dollars stay the same.
Yeah.
Well, part of the issue we have with this two-account structure, it was based off of 1970s trust principles. Everything was in fixed income, 100%.
Okay.
You put it in one account, you invested it, you got your 4.5% that was spun off into a separate account, and you only touched that.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a very sophisticated portfolio. Our asset allocation follows modern portfolio theory. So we're well diversified into private equity, to alternatives, into domestic and global equities, as well as your fixed income and your hard assets. It's like real estate.
How do you guys decide? Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm curious how you guys decide on those investments.
So the asset allocation, the board, there's 6 trustees. The board, I think it's our May meeting, we always decide on the asset allocation and whether or not we're going to adjust from that or leave that alone. That's the percent of the total value of the funds in each category. And we, based upon its both staff recommendations as well as third-party advisor recommendations.
Okay.
And so we go through this really long, robust process to do that. And then our job at the board is to set that. We hire the executive director or the CEO of the Permanent Fund Corporation. And the rest of that is the staff sets up. They make the investment decisions.
Are those typically out-of-state investments? I guess I'm not super familiar with what the fund is invested in.
Yeah, it's almost always out of state. They've been able to find that. That's been some of the greatest growth opportunity over time.
A lot of you guys, I know when you guys did your PFD kind of like lecture and talk, you guys had to mention private equity, some REITs, some other stuff. Yeah. So
we're all over the place. Quite a bit North American exposure. We got emerging markets all over. So we are the United States' largest sovereign wealth fund. We were one of the first one in the world to do this, though, to actually set aside a non-renewable resource to make it a renewable resource. So, the famous Norges fund with Norway's was actually based off of ours.
Interesting. So why? I mean, but theirs is in the trillions now, isn't it?
There is this. So they actually have state-run oil company called Statoil.
Oh,
And so they actually both get the production and the royalty comes directly, and they don't spend from that very much at all.
Oh, yeah.
So
it just
it has
grows.
been a country's entire resources aggregated.
piling
into
up
one
over
pot.
Wow. Yeah.
And
No
that
wonder
is-
they've got a, yeah.
What did Einstein say? The most powerful force in the universe is
Yeah.
compounding interest.
Yep. 100%. So they're like the daddy Warbucks of Europe.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
So when you talk about like the structure, like what we could do with the Permanent
Yeah.
Fund Corp is have these two counts is kind of a pain in the butt because we've got illiquidity. We have illiquid assets on these private equity sides, meaning that you typically invest in these and you wait 8 to 10 years. You may get dividends from that throughout, but it's going to take a while to fully see. But if we were to actually combine these accounts, and so the trustees have actually had this, it's been an outstanding thing for 20 years, to actually put a constitutional amendment together to combine the counts into one.
Okay.
And you actually can put in that amendment that the legislature can only draw up to 5%. So that actually creates still the permanent, the
So there's still a
PLV.
control in there.
Yeah.
That actually makes a constitutional spending cap. So if you follow the legislature the last couple of years, there's been a hard part about we have a statutory spending cap, but it doesn't function.
Yeah.
Well, on this one, we actually could make a constitutional spending cap
That works.
that works.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing that doesn't get talked about a lot. The earnings reserve has funds in it right now beyond the POMV draw. It only takes a simple majority vote to actually draw from.
Which isn't great.
It's not great.
Yeah.
So this
Because politicians like to spend money.
Yeah, they do. And thus far, they've been able to show restraint amongst the legislature and the governor.
Yep.
And he has wielded his veto pen. And so this is something, though, that for long-term protection to make sure that these funds are available is something that the trustees have believed for 20 years. And we actually, last year, came out with trustee paper number 10 in order to kind of reiterate that stance.
So I guess why, if they've been wanting to make this change for the last 20 years, why have we not created a constitutional amendment to make that change?
It's a big lift. You have to get a lot of people on board.
Yeah.
You have to have a joint resolution from the legislature, from both bodies, and then you actually have to go to a vote of the people in the next general election.
Interesting.
So you got to educate everybody, and you really have to permeate this. The idea of a POMV, was fully executed. I think it was 2017. But that has been around since like the 90s.
Yeah.
The concept's been around a long time. It takes a while to do that, but now that these things have kind of moved forward, you get enough, inertia, and it's out. It's in the lexicon, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this can shine some light on what it is you guys do and fill some of those educational gaps.
I think so. I think a lot of people, they don't understand that the Permanent Fund Corporation has nothing to do with the dividend. It's all about investing.
Yep.
All they do is invest, and they create earnings for the state. The dividend is statutorily appropriated by the legislature, and then the Permanent Fund Dividend Division just cuts the check.
And I feel that, it feels like there's enough frustration, right, with the legislature dipping their fingers into the PFD that, I think the average resident of Alaska would probably get on board with a change to limit that ability for politicians to be able to not be able to put their hand in the cookie jar.
I would think so.
You know what I mean?
It's a natural process.
Yes.
You want to make sure that certain things are getting right. We want to make sure our roads are plowed.
Yes.
But there's certain things you want to make sure there's control over.
Yeah.
And that, other states, they've got revenue measures with various taxes. They'll have provisions that if a certain dollar amount is raised, then the tax shuts off. Or it's got an automatic sunset clause.
Yep.
And there's a lot of
ceiling to it.
Yeah, they create these ceilings and these policy parameters around this so that you're not creating this massive surplus of government funds to just sit there.
Yeah, I could see how that would make a voter kind of hesitant, right? They're like, well, if we do this, then where's the end?
Exactly.
Because it just keeps escalating, right?
Because there's a weird process you have to think about it, like call it an income tax.
Yeah.
If you do an income tax, if it's a 1% income tax, you're pulling 1% of your GDP out.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I like the sales tax model. I think that's also an unpopular opinion. But it makes sense.
Taxes in general up here are not, they're not a.
They are, but I get to travel a lot because I have to go talk to the markets and the banks.
Yeah, of course.
Texas, you look at Texas and Florida, man, they're booming states. I remember at a presentation like a year or two ago, the comptroller of Texas made this claim. There was so many people moving into Texas. He goes, I woke up this morning and 100,000 new people called Texas home. And tomorrow, another 100,000 people are going to call Texas home. And it was just that much people said, holy cow, like in a week, the population of Alaska had moved there. They have a huge state sales tax. They have a 6% state sales tax.
They do.
They got an 8% statewide cap. Florida's like 7.5%.
I actually like the idea of sales tax. And then, too, it's like takes advantage. I don't want to say take advantage. That's the wrong word. But it capitalizes on tourism, too, right? So all these people that are coming to spend, there's a tax on that. It doesn't hit your income, so you're not pulling your GDP, right? You only pay the tax if you're spending. So, I mean, I could see how
it's
that
controllable.
Yeah.
Right.
It is controllable, but I mean, it's a transactional fee.
It is.
So I want to try to like get people to educate on this because, the top three most, there's a group like Tax Foundation and other ones talk about like the most tax-friendly states. And there's Alaska, South Dakota, and Wyoming. And we're always top three. But we're also not booming in growth and population.
We are, yeah.
And so there is a zero correlation between tax friendliness and business friendliness.
Yes.
And whether or not business or people want to live there or move there.
Yeah. I mean, look at Anchorage. No sales tax. We have a super high property tax, though.
That's a great point. I live in Wasilla.
Yeah.
Wasilla's got a state. We have both the city sales tax.
Yep.
And Wasilla's growing.
Yep.
It's the only spot in the state that's grown for like 30 straight years.
Yeah. It's wild.
I like the idea of taking a portion of that. I think they called it like 1%, if I'm not mistaken, where they take the 1% and then basically create a fund to reinvest.
AEDC's deal, yeah. That got shot down by their
Yeah, it got shot down, but I thought it was a good solution, right?
It's a reinvestment tool, right?
Yeah, it's a reinvestment tool. It's like, hey, how do we take this money, guarantee that we're reinvesting into the state, reinvesting into the city, right? Maybe that draws more people in, increases your tax base. But it got shot down. But I was like, this is a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
If they're going to be doing that, at least you know where it's going, and then you can see it in your own city, which I think is part of the problem, right? It's like people are paying taxes, they don't see they're like, my roads have potholes, but they don't get how that all works, and that was why I was excited for you to come in and maybe shed a little light on how all this stuff really goes down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sales tax to me is like a transactional fee.
It is.
If there is a sales tax, it's like the homesteader who's north of Talkeetna or Trapper Creek in the middle of the woods, growing his own food, collecting his own water. If he never buys anything, he doesn't pay that tax,
which is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in somewhere and you actually make that purchase, then you pay that tax.
Right. So are you more for a statewide sales tax, or do you think it should be more local, like municipal?
The hard part is that we already have municipal sales taxes in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
When you do evaluation of other states and you talk about this, and it's been contemplated and kicked around at the state level, is a statewide sales tax does make sense to implement at a small level, but you have to then work it out. And it's one of those, the state does have primacy, so you could institute this law and then supersede the municipalities.
Right.
But that's not how we do it in Alaska.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I would argue, too, it's such a diverse state, and our communities are so different depending on where they are. And so maybe they need a different solution.
There's different needs. And so this is something that like you can't just do by fiat, even though it can never happen that way.
Yeah.
But like just to introduce by the legislature to pass, this is something you have to have a very considerate time frame in communication with municipalities on what this looks like.
Yeah.
Even our businesses. I think a lot of people fail to realize that even our tourism businesses, they book a year to 2 years out, or they set their prices.
Yeah.
And that greatly affects their bottom line if all of a sudden there's an extra sales tax they didn't know about.
Yeah. Well, somebody was trying to introduce another bed tax, like statewide bed tax, on top of all the additional bed taxes that the Muni has and Juneau. And I'm like, dude, no one's going to pay a 24% bed tax. That's because what happens is all the hotel rates and then nightly rates for all of these have to go down, right? So then no one's making money besides the Muni, the state, et cetera, right? I mean, 24% is pretty
steep.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Is that more
we
than
collect bed tax, and I'm like,
I think it is, yeah.
You don't realize how much tax that is on a reservation until you see it. You're just like, wow, that's a big check I got to write. So, so kind of bringing it back, what are, if you were to wanting to make some changes to make things better, a little bit more stability with the state of Alaska from your position, what would those be?
So one thing that we have actually been done, we've really worked on our state credit rating. So just this last week, we actually got a state upgrade by Moody's, which is one of the toughest ones to crack. So we're actually up to what's called an AA2. And that is actually an improvement from Moody's. That's the highest we've been with them, I think it was since 2016. Okay. And that's our third credit rating from credit rating agencies. in the last 3 years.
Nice.
And so it's been a combination of how we sell the state, how we get these credit rating agencies to actually look at our overall profile.
Yeah.
Because it's a unique thing, but the budget has been relatively flat. We haven't dipped into savings. We've actually been able to grow some of our savings, like the Constitutional Budget Reserve. It's sitting at $2.9 billion. So those are the kind of things that actually help provide stability. When we're looking at all of this other investment in Alaska going on both in the oil patch, and we're at this really exciting times when we've got AI data centers and all these energy needing the gas line, I think, from stability standpoint, it's what can the state do to actually improve the quality of life?
Yeah.
Because, inserting maybe there does need to be other revenue talks, but those have to be long and in-depth. You can't just insert those because we do know that creates a disruption.
Yep.
But focusing on quality of life and making Alaska a place that people want to be at, want to live. We can't do anything about the weather, but it's an amazing spot. I'm born and raised here. I want to stay here.
Opportunities and jobs, right?
That's it. Yep. And a place that it's safe. You feel like you can raise a family here. That there's
quality education that would go a long way.
Access to housing.
Access to housing.
Those are the things that I think we can focus on. And it's, infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
I think those are things that are immediate. We've had really good conversations with the legislature about that. We have outstanding $1.6 billion in GO bond capacity. So there's a lot that could be done with that. And this is, high credit rated money.
Yeah.
So it's $7.5 million per 100 million issued.
So for the average person, they probably don't understand what the Moody's rating does for the state. Yeah. So can you break that down?
Yeah. So, for the statewide GeoBond credit ratings, for this, all it really does is if the state were to issue bonds, it means we get better interest rate. So that's a direct mechanism. Things like the municipal bond bank, which there's like 30 communities in the state, use the credit rating of the bond bank. Well, the bond bank trails the state, so it's one level below. Okay. So by the state getting one, the bond bank, which issues on a regular basis, gets one. So that helps our communities directly.
Nice.
So that means your towns are getting a little bit better deal whenever they issue bonds.
Okay.
And we have heard anecdotally what happens is every time we get a state GO bond rating increase, it hits what's called the money markets or the financial news. So we don't see this up here in Alaska. It doesn't go around a lot, but it bounces around Wall Street. It bounces around globally. And projects that are in Alaska, it actually shows them, Alaska's stable. Something positive is helping there.
Yep.
And we do know that one of the oil projects came up to us a couple of years ago after the credit rating increase. It sped up their fundraise and got them faster to FID. Just because of the fact that their global investors say, you know what, Alaska's more stable than we thought. It's less of a risk for us to dump cash there.
Yeah.
It's like Alaska real estate. A lot of out-of-state and out-of-country people are realizing that, hey, it's a pretty stable investment.
Yeah. We're also still kind of the unicorn state.
We are.
Kind of like that mythic world that people just don't quite understand.
They don't.
And, it's national banks, it's international market. People just don't invest here. And I think it's just because they don't really understand what happens in Alaska. It's, it's almost as if we all live in igloos and every spring our housing melts, then we have to rebuild it. It's like what they think,
and it's only true of our lawns.
Yeah. So it's, it's cool to get us on a national and global scale of, hey, there's actually stuff happening in Alaska, right? It's a positive. Yeah. There's less risk. So, it's awesome to hear the attraction of the national international market.
Yeah, it really is. When I go talk to investor groups and take advantage of this, we have changed our pitch to Alaska. And we say, look, we have a lot of opportunity here. We have minerals. We have 49 of the 50 listed critical minerals and rare earth elements.
Yeah.
So we've got energy resources. We have a coal project that the Department of Energy has said is less of a carbon footprint than an equal-sized wind farm. Let's work on these things. Let's push these. Then we've also got this gas line, which would be one of the biggest in the world. So my pitch to them is that you need to look at Alaska as getting emerging market rates of return in a first world nation. There's no risk of nationalization. You've got property rights. To think about us that way.
Yeah.
Yes, you may see it as some higher risk, but you need to downturn that a little bit. And we know there's a lot of investor groups that are actually really low on their asset allocation to North America because there's not a lot of project ready. Shovel-ready projects for them to dump money to.
Yeah, there's quite a few up here. So, I think there's, and this is political, but with the presidential administrative change, that was a big impact for Alaska because the prior administration was very anti-oil, killed a lot of the projects that we had going on up here. We're already pre-planned, and of course, President Trump came in, immediately killed a bunch of those presidential decrees from the Biden administration, which is invigorated a lot of these projects back up. What do you see? Obviously, still have 3.5 plus years left. What do you see as some kind of golden gems of Alaska for development over the next 3.5?
Around critical minerals.
Yep.
I really see that. It's access to us building roads. We have to have roads to resources.
Yeah.
I'm born in the 80s, and I don't think a road's been built since then in Alaska. Like a massive highway road.
They've just been band-aiding them since then. Yeah.
I think the Parks Highway was in the 70s, right?
I was born in the 80s too, so that was 20 years ago, Adam?
Yeah, right? A little bit. Let me crack my back real quick.
Yeah. My knee randomly hurts some days.
We need roads.
Yeah, they did that Bogart extension in the valley. That was a game changer. But that's the only road that I know that they've really put in since I can remember.
And that is the little game change because it's access to federal lands. And, the largest landowner in the state of Alaska is the feds.
Yep.
60% of our land is owned by the federal government.
Which is insane.
Only about 1% of all land is privately held in Alaska.
Yeah, it's wild.
So you can only get to so much from the road,
Yeah. And so, we have to have them. We have to work with the federal government. They have to be good landlords, and they have to allow us access to go get our resources, particularly the ones on state land.
Right.
We've got university system, which is a land grant school. Mm-hmm. They've got area that's got minerals. We've got the Mental Health Trust that has access to minerals. We have got the state of Alaska, which has mineral rights and royalties. And so let us get there. And so we need access over the road. And that's what I hope we can find some way in these 3.5 years left of the Trump administration is to find durable access.
Yeah.
Things that can't just be undone on the first day of a new administration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of opposition too for those roads.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of support.
There's a ton of support.
And so,
for all those roads,
I sit on the board of ADA, and they've done a really good job working with local communities for Ambler. We've got villages there that have signed on, these village councils, but we need this for access to our, for jobs, to help our locals. Kotzebue is the best story. The Nana region, what they've done with Red Dog Mine for 40 years is tremendous. The median income, the life expectancy of that whole population has gone up. Shareholders who are working there have fantastic jobs.
Yeah.
Why would we not want that opportunity for other areas of the state?
Yeah, especially areas that are, where that would have a massive impact on the job market. Everything. Because there is there's areas that are super limited on, just access to healthcare, jobs, et cetera, right? And so it would create a ton of opportunity on top of it would help stabilize Alaska beyond just relying on oil and gas.
Yeah. We got our boom bust cycles. We
do have a boom.
We got to bust through that. We have to find a way to actually add another leg to our stool on our financial thing. So it's not just oil. And that we get to a spot that we're stable enough that everybody can be here with confidence about, we're not going to have this fight in the legislature this year because we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
Has anybody proposed something similar to as like the PFD for our other minerals, or is that just strictly restricted to oil?
All the minerals. So all minerals in the Constitution, with 25% of all royalties are deposited into the Permit Fund Corporation.
And you said we have 49 of the 50.
49 of the 50, including things like antimony, which China has actually banned the export of, and that's the primary supplier of the United States. You need antimony for things like high tech as well as hardening of munitions. So both things that we want.
Yeah. It's not like we don't have any DOD here.
Yeah, right?
So, it sounds, and then with the DOD, there's some super exciting projects that are coming through. And I know the Department of Defense is dumping a ton of money into Alaska. Is there anything you can mention on any of that stuff?
It's I believe the Army Corps of Engineers is going to reissue the RFP for the Nome port.
Okay.
So that's a big deal. Hopefully, I don't know if they have or not, the small modular nuclear reactor for Eielson Air Force Base.
I have heard about those.
And
amazing technology.
Yeah, that would be an incredible proof of concept in the state of Alaska.
Yeah.
When these things become commercialized, I don't know, 20, 30 years, I don't know how long they are. But that's honestly how you're going to have sustainable power throughout rural Alaska.
What's interesting, I just watched this tech show in Japan, and they were highlighting that they have at-home nuclear reactors. It looks like, you remember the old IMAX or whatever, the bubble looking thing with the clear back? That's what it looks like.
That would be like orange or pink. And
and so they have one of those. And it's like an egg or whatever. It sits in your house and it powers your whole house for like 50 years.
That's
or whatever.
so cool.
It's pretty rad. Because I was like looking at, I bought a camper a couple weeks ago. And so I've been looking at like power sources, like generators and stuff. And I somehow got on that. And I was like, where do we get these?
That's a rabbit hole to go down for
You're
like, Instagram algorithm. Take me there.
Take me there. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, but I mean, that's on the forefront, and I don't think we're 50 years from that. I think with AI implementation and all that, it's going to, it's exponential each year, right? So I'm pretty hopeful that we'll see that, and maybe we'll see some people kind of back off the fear mongering with the nuclear power.
A little bit. One of the things that was really, really telling, because you've heard about these small modular nukes and Oklo and all these kind of cool companies that are investing in, Sam Altman with ChatGPT. That's all like cool and all. Said, but the fact that Microsoft was willing to reopen 3 Mile Island, and like the one project that is seen as the thing that killed nuclear power in the United States, and they're willing to put their name on that.
Yeah, that's
huge. What does that tell you?
To take the headline risk, it tells you is like there's a lot to this. That's one of the biggest companies in the world.
Yep.
That was willing to take that risk.
Yeah, I think and it's been a lot. Obviously, the whole nuclear conversation really kind of took storm in the 70s, right? And then also the decline and negative annotations attached to it. So it's been, almost a generation that's come and passed, right? Since that kind of negative
and I feel like Fukushima
part of history. Well, I mean,
there's always going to be that stuff, but the technology is so much better now. And I think if
safeguards are better,
way better.
So it's.
Do you have a friend who works on a nuclear submarine? Do they have kids?
Right.
That's a fair question.
And yes,
they've been around for 50 years.
Yeah,
plus.
I do.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best arguments for small modular nukes.
Yeah.
Is that we have had this technology, we've actually known how to actually insulate and protect that.
Correct.
And not affect fertility rates.
No, there's a lot of study in science. Right. There's a lot of study in science that supports it, right? And I don't know at what point it got the negative connotation and why. I'm sure that was some propaganda machine at some point that I don't understand, but it seems like a viable opportunity.
Yeah. Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
That is probably where it came from.
Let's see. I know there's what is up and coming for you. Like that's going to be kind of
pretty cool stuff. So there is what's called an index fund for the state of Alaska.
Yes.
That has been built. It's called the Last Frontier Index. And I worked with an asset manager to put this together.
Okay.
And it's identifying, it's over 130 companies, publicly traded, marketable securities that do business in and around Alaska.
Okay.
So ConocoPhillips, UPS, FedEx, almost every iPhone that is manufactured and sold in the United States, or manufactured in China, sold in the United States, touches down in Anchorage.
Really?
So
I didn't know that.
We have Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. We've got a lot of these companies here. So you built this index, and it gets the quantification work. It was weighted differently based upon like how much are they invested in Alaska. But this index is going to be traded on the New York Stock Exchange under a fund with a ticker symbol AKAF.
I would probably just buy it just because of that,
Yeah,
so I can see it in my portfolio.
Yeah. So when's it launch?
It's a lot. I think it's launched now. It's officially on the SEC filing.
Okay.
It is up. And the bell ring is going to be next week.
So you're going to New York.
Got to go to New York to go ring the bell to kind of get some time and attention to this and get other states to look at it. And it's what's called a regional ETF. And the nice thing about this is it's just about identifying things that are important to Alaska's economic diversity. Mm-hmm. From a fund standpoint, it's well diversified.
Yeah.
But it identifies and highlights our geostrategic location in the world, our access to critical minerals, our access to both energy and current resource potential. It's pretty fantastic. It's been a cool project to work on. And just to see, when you talk to people like, oh, how many companies are going to be in this index? And you say 130, they're like, wait, what?
That's really diversified. What? So just, can you say that ticker again?
The ticker symbol is AKAF.
You heard it here. AKAF. Look it up on your stock app.
If you tell your Edward Jones guy, your Merrill Lynch, tell him to invest in that for you.
I'm going to do that, actually. Yeah. I'd be curious to hold some of it.
That's awesome, man. How long did that take?
That has been a long process.
Yeah, I'm like, SEC is not known for expedition.
SEC takes there's a long process. I mean, even the initial idea, working through that, it's been months and months.
Thought you were going to say years.
The concept started about a year ago, but
Okay.
of like really grind them out work, 7-8 months.
That's actually not too terrible. I thought you were going to be a little bit longer, but
But it's been a press. That has not been like along with everything that has been really trying to focus.
yeah.
Seems like it would take a team of people just to put that together.
Yeah, we've got a fantastic partner in the asset manager that has worked on it. They have done bespoke indexes before, so we needed their expertise to make sure it was put together in a defensible way. You got to have really good methodology on how you do your rebalancing, meaning the companies that float on in and out of it, and it's going to be on a biannual basis.
Okay, very cool.
Man, learned so much already.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, man. That is something we're excited about. Just we think there's both an institutional appetite for this, just from how good of a fund it is, as well as the retail side. It's a cool thing. Alaska is a cool place.
It's an amazing place.
And it gets people's time and attention.
Yeah.
And we want to highlight that. So to be the first state out there with one of these like this is just such a neat thing. This is our home state. We want to highlight this and sell this in such a way.
Right. What was the article that had immediately talked about this fund?
Oh, we have already made it into Seeking Alpha.
Seeking Alpha.
Which is?
Seeking Alpha is, if you click on it, it actually will automatically open up the stock app on your iPhone.
Okay.
And it is a normal financial wire stock app, but it's already based on the SEC filing. They're already talking about this, and
that's super cool, man.
It's pretty cool that we weren't even anticipating that. That's that. What do you call it? Earned media.
Yeah. I mean, it's not what you would expect to come from a state.
No.
So
we're trying to be different. We're trying to change how Alaska is seen. We want people to see this as a place of opportunity that cool things can come. The governor's done a good job at that with his energy conference. And it's grown, I think this was year 5, and he had 3 cabinet members at it.
I saw that. Captain Cook was surrounded.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the kind of cool thing is like we can have these massive events and these world-changing things occur in Alaska, and we should, based upon where we're at in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, our geostrategic location, everything that's going to occur with China and Russia and the Arctic, we're there.
As that ice recedes, we're at the top of the world.
We're the tip of the spear. That's right. And we need to get more and more time and attention and focus here to give us all the resources to continue our resilience.
I think it throws people off because they're always looking at the map, but if you grab a globe,
that's it.
And look at the top of it, you're like, oh, that's...
Apple Maps, if you really zoom out, that's the globe feature.
Yeah.
I actually do that when I travel abroad. People are like, oh, how far is it to get here? I'm like, oh, it's this far. And they don't understand it until you zoom all the way out and you show them that globe feature, and they're like, oh, my God.
That's a long way.
It's a long way.
It's a long way.
Yeah.
I use this example just because I worked on the gas line so much.
Right.
A ship from the Gulf of America to go through the Panama Canal to get to Japan or Korea is about 16 days. An LNG ship from South Central Alaska, 7.5 days.
That's a big deal when you talk about logistics-based companies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really cuts it down.
Man, Gulf of America. It's so funny.
I'm glad you did.
I'm glad you said that.
That's the first time I even want to say that publicly. I don't think I can say that here. And another super cool thing you asked about, like what we're working on, we're trying to get AI data centers up here.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about changing the mindset. Everything is just trying to. It's a good thing I'm a big guy because I feel like I'm wrestling a bear all the time.
You look like you wrestle bears.
We're trying to get people to change. It's like focus. No, think about it this way. And you go to these AI data centers and they're like, look, we can flip your economic model on its head. It's like you're building in a place that's 100 degrees and you're spending all of your OPEX on cooling and water issues.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And I don't know.
And electrical.
I don't know how much you read. There's this book. It's called Jersey Boys. And it was like...
That was a musical, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so.
It might be a
It
musical.
might be now. And I might have messed up the name too, so I might have been confusing it with the musical, But the premise of the book was essentially these guys were spoofing internet. So basically they were paying more for connections. They were using bots to trade, but their connection was like point whatever milliseconds faster. They were charging them extra for that. Wow. But they're getting an edge on the market, right? So if you're using digital model and you have an AI bot or whatever, and it's trading on the millisecond, if you're 0.2 of a millisecond faster than those guys, then you got a queue in the market. But it turns out there's a fiber that was wrapped around the top of the globe, and it runs actually right through Alaska, or it used to. I mean, I'm not super familiar on all that stuff, and I don't want to overspeak, but it's a pretty good book, and I think it's the same kind of idea, right? Is like you're using your geolocation to benefit from business, and it's the same premise, right? It's take advantage of things that you can't control, right? So
100%.
Heat. What does that cost you every year to cool off all that?
And that's it, right? So we told them, like, you can actually change it. If you use Alaska, we've got land.
Yep.
Your CapEx is going to be higher. Your capital expenditures, just because of logistics, we'll call it that.
Yep.
But your OpEx gets cheaper because you don't have to worry about cooling as much, and we've got water.
A lot of it.
And so it changes their overall model. So you get more access to traditional financing that way, because that's what banks want to see, high CapEx, low OpEx.
Yes.
Get that ROI. On top of that, what we're trying to tell everybody is we actually have good connections here, just to your point. We got decent connections, and the groups that we've had from these AI hyperscalers to look at Alaska, they'll actually look and say, you know what, your latency is not bad. Said, but what we put up here is what's called leading edge computing, or actual just the learning language, the language learning models. And we'd have the training modules up here, and they could do that. And we're trying to get all these guys like, hey, did you know in Norway they have what's called a seed vault?
Yes. Seeds from every plant in the world.
I think there's 2 different ones, and they actually drew out of it not too long ago. I was reading about that recently.
So on that one, they put it up there, the cold climate, and protect that, and also some world cataclysmic event. Well, right now, the center of the world in AI is where? Virginia.
Interesting.
Really?
I wouldn't guess
that is the highest concentration. Well, Department of Defense.
Well, Langley and all that stuff.
All of that stuff, defense contractors. So it is there. So what we're also trying to say is like, look, we're far away. We just talked about our location.
Yeah.
Let's have a northern data vault in Alaska for redundancy purposes.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's set us up here. And I've been trying to get all these AI guys up here. And the term I've been using, and I had a friend use it at the energy conference, I want to make Alaska the Silicon Tundra.
I like that, dude.
Silicon Tundra.
Silicon Tundra.
Let's get it up here.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a good coin term.
Right?
Well, then given what's happening with technology and kind of the direction things are moving, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
And we can do this. We can also work with our university programs. I've talked to folks who actually set up grad school programs for AI. Let's do that in our local schools. And actually to do that, so we don't just have the location and people filter in and out. Let's train our people in this new attractive field and give them a reason to be here.
That's a 3-for-1, like it brings in revenue to the state, it provides jobs and opportunities, and
Keeps population.
It keeps population. Right now you have opportunities. People would migrate for that, right?
Oh yeah, you set up an incubator program along with that, where you get talent here, then all of a sudden you're having more and more money and more people come here in order to do that.
People would come to university just to have the opportunity to work in those fields to get experience.
Correct.
So,
and that's the things that I'm really trying to push and trying to work on.
It's a smart play.
And we see that as this big opportunity set. And the thing is, it doesn't take away from anything else that is going on in the state. It doesn't diminish the importance of our minerals. It doesn't diminish the importance of our resources, nor the gas line. We have to have those things all hit.
Fisheries, wild game, none of that stuff would be impacted, right?
We get all of these things concurrently, and I'm 100% electron agnostic. If I want all the gas to be pumped, I want all the coal to be done, and let's get all these things here, and that allows us to create our own weather, so to speak, to where we actually get these manufacturers and these large-scale people that are be up here to buy it. Because the more scale we have, the cheaper it gets for us as Alaskans to buy power.
100%.
It is the reverse thesis of everywhere down south.
Yeah.
They're getting ran out saying, no, you're buying too much power. I'm saying up here, come up here, buy as much as you want. We'll build more, and it makes it cheaper for us.
100%. Yeah, because you're feeding the rail belt, which is already kind of taxed.
And then when you lower, the cool thing is, at the rail belt, if the prices at the rail belt get lower and lower, the floor gets set lower, which means that capital projects for rural Alaska, using the power cost equalization program,
the cost goes down.
Well, they get access to more capital to build more projects. So if the delta is greater, there's more money that can actually be invested in rural Alaska.
That makes sense.
So this is a win-all.
Yeah. Did you see the RCA for NSTAR just came out?
I did.
It's going to be a tough hit.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, NSTAR proposed, 26% increase?
They wanted 26, and I think they got 23.
Which is a massive jump.
That's a pretty significant jump considering the heating and all the things associated.
Yeah. So projects like these energy projects or just investment in Alaska energy in general to help offset, Chugach had an RCA increase, last year? Like a decent sized one as well. So, I mean, it's just, the costs aren't going down.
No, and these are significant barriers for Alaskans too, right? I mean, I don't know how many constituents you talk to, but it seems like with homeowners, their primary concern is like
Bills.
Monthly utilities, right? Because it's something you have to have for the most part. And then, you can only get it from so many places.
Yeah.
And that's why cheaper energy, more access to housing to keep the housing costs down. That actually allows more money in pockets and opportunity. We need a positive mind shift.
Yeah.
Up here. I want this, I got little girls. I want them to have an Alaska that they can thrive in.
Yeah.
That it was, when I was, coming back from college, it was easy to come back here.
Yes.
There was a lot happening. And now it's one of those, you don't blame kids if they don't come back because you kind of have to hunt a little bit. Yes, there's jobs, but what's that, is there a ceiling? And we need to remove that ceiling.
Well, you just don't see the growth, right? You see it everywhere else, right? You go to other states, you see it in the news, you see other things, and all the investment and economies are booming and population growth is, and so they see that everywhere else, especially in the lower 48, and they come home and they're like, population decline, and then you go around, drive around Anchorage. And
we actually had a population increase this last year.
Yeah,
finally.
I saw that for the first time in a long time.
For the first time in a long time.
For a long time, but that's still, there's not a lot of economic investment, and
we need year after year
100%.
of that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think most of the time people are only seeing road construction, right? They're not seeing all the other stuff.
Right.
So like when we were like down in Texas, we're driving, it was like, who's building this highway? It's like hundreds of miles long. They're doing construction all the time. And then you drive, there's cranes and crane and crane and crane. And you're like, oh, wow.
Have you been to Dallas?
Not recently.
Oh my goodness. Dallas is like, it is metropolis through Plano, and Plano is a ways north of downtown Dallas, if you're familiar with that area.
Yeah.
It's absurd how much that place has grown, and it's growing so much. It's now a financial hub.
Well, so is same with Austin and San Antonio. I was just down there. The two blend now.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
they're an hour and a half apart, and they just blend.
Well, it's not even that far, right? It was like 15 or 20 miles or something. It wasn't very far, but it took us like an hour and a half to get there.
Yeah. Well, Hill Country used to be rural down there.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's
suburb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. But the same thing. They have massive cranes building buildings. The city of San Antonio just announced a land bridge, like a $5 billion land bridge to go over their highway because their downtown split. So they're going to build a land bridge over the highway to connect the two sides of downtown and then build on the land bridge.
That's pretty sick.
All right, I got to look that up. That's
pretty cool.
That sounds like Futurama kind of stuff.
It looks like it. Dude, they talked about this whole thing. It's like $8 billion.
They're literally building, you guys do real estate, right? It's the whole thing. It's like they don't build more land. Well,
they're making it. Yeah. Yeah, they're making it so that their downtown blends, and it's to attract people into the downtown area to like their sports centers and all that stuff, and then they don't have to go through all the highway stuff.
Wow.
And they can just drive over from one side to the other.
Slick.
Yeah, it's
forward thinking.
But their economy is, they're like their future. It looks great because they have so much investment and population growth in Texas. Because they are super business friendly.
Well, I feel like some of that was like political refugees, right? Like there's a lot of like relocation from California and stuff like that. A lot of people going to Texas.
Well, so you actually say that about Texas, super business friendly? Texas has a franchise tax.
They do have a franchise tax.
Gross receipts.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So that's one of those, you look at Texas, you're like, oh, dang, some of their stuff on paper is not business friendly. It actually costs them more.
Right.
And it's just because there's so much of everything. They have their own gravity. Mm-hmm. Everything is getting pulled there now.
Yeah.
So it really shows you that how much the whole thesis matters.
Yeah.
Everything is the opportunity set, the time and attention, the quality of life. All of that coalesces together to actually do a thriving, growing economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the financial incentives are somewhat short-lived, right? It seems like it always comes down to quality of life.
That's a great way to phrase that.
Yes.
Because it's short-term, right? We know, like, if we look at peer-reviewed studies for Motivator and stuff like that, it'll show you that. It's like they've done all the control studies where they pay people more and they realize that their satisfaction is less now because whatever. So we know that money is a short-term motivator.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to see a positive outlook, right? Good schools, clean parks, safe, family friendly,
and everybody
all these
wants
things.
The same thing. Everybody wants that same core element of stuff, regardless of what side they stand on for politics. It's all to the same end. It's just a different route.
Yeah.
So I think we just got to get through that noise and find the common ground. you know, and when at the end of the day, it's families and quality of life.
I would agree.
Yeah. Got some work to do.
We do.
Yeah. It's a heavy load, but I feel what I love about you being on here and being young and in your position is, and I know the two of us have had this conversation already, and there is a cultural shift that is happening in Alaska.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of kind of like the old guard is starting to kind of like move off, and there's a solid group of people in their early 40s, late 40s that are wanting to kind of pick up the helm and really and like impact and make change.
And make it our own.
Yeah.
I feel like we've had a lot of good conversations about that actually in this room.
I think you have too. I've watched you guys' other stuff.
Hey, thanks for watching.
The folks you have on, there's a lot of people who are motivated
Yes.
to try to actually help. There's a lot of altruism. That's a cool thing about Alaska.
Yeah.
You got a lot of folks that they want to be successful on their own, but we're always trying to look out for how do we make life a little bit better for the people around
For
us.
everybody. Yeah. 100%.
That's what it's about. It's community building, you know?
Yeah.
That's the Alaska
Yeah.
spirit too.
It
Take
is.
care of your neighbors.
Yeah, and that's why I'm talking with that cultural shift is, you know, you can feel it. You know, it's definitely brewing. You know, and you talk to other people that are business building, and when they go and talk to other business owners, you know, they understand that there's people who are really trying to push. You know, even though it's against the grain a little bit, because we still have people that are set in their ways, have been here a long time. They don't want change, you know, but
it worked for them, you know, it worked for them.
yeah. And so, but they're pushing, you know, and they're slowly making change and making headway, which is, so it's been positive. It's been you can feel it. It's definitely in the air.
Yeah. Alaska's a pioneer state.
Yep.
We always have been. The first people that came up here, you know, for the gold rush, right? For that kind of stuff, that little attitude. The
Hard people, dude. Go-getters.
The Homesteading Act. And everybody who's come up here over the years trying to actually find that way of life, to actually make that step a little bit better, to become a state. And everything that occurred through the oil rush, right? The pipeline days. All of that stuff has always happened. I feel like we've always had those moments, and then it kind of got stuck in stasis. And
It's
now
that boom and bust that you were talking about.
it's
right?
that boom and bust. But now we need to break free. We need to finally grow up. That's one thing. We've always had the curse of cash. We've had savings.
Yeah.
When oil's down, we pay out of our savings. But then some global event happens and oil goes up, and we get cash again, and we don't actually do anything from a public finance standpoint.
Yeah.
If we've been rich enough, we didn't have to get scrappy.
Yes.
Which
Yes. Every other city around the country has to compete on bonding issues and actually incentives and economic opportunity zones. Cities, let alone counties or states.
Right.
And what are we going to do? Are we going to sit here and do a managed decline? Or are we going to actually, you know what, stand up and say, we're going to do something big and bold and brash, and we're going to change our destiny going forward?
I like that.
Which is funny because Alaska has always done big, bold, and brash. And for some reason, in the last 20 years, we kind of almost took a step back on a national and international scale. Like oil hit, fat, dumb, and happy, and then we got complacent.
Yeah. I'm with you, and I kind of feel like there's a large growing segment of the population like, you know, not anymore.
Yeah.
We're not going to take it. We're going to step up and do this.
That time is coming. It's here, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just going to take a little while to kind of filter in. So thanks for doing what you do.
I appreciate it. It's an honor to serve. I got to blame my wife. It's all her fault. She's the one who's like always pushed me.
Are we going to need to edit that out?
No, she is always encouraged in order to do this because it's hard. Public service is a very difficult thing. And anybody, even if I don't agree with you, anybody who steps up and runs for office or gets appointed office or serves on a board, it's difficult. Because more often than not, what you hear are people who disagree with you or upset about you.
Yeah.
It's a lot to carry, I'm sure.
And it's one of those things that when you do that and you get to see the help, and even little stories where you get to hear like a family of Alaskans that you've helped, or somebody's day that got made a little bit better because a staff member did something above and beyond, that makes it worth it. And you got to put that together, and you got to have those moments stacked up on top of each other over time. And man, we can move mountains.
Small victories, man. You got to build that momentum. That's beautiful.
Yeah. When's the last time you went to Whittier?
It hasn't been that long.
A year.
Right? It's a hole through a mountain.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
I like to go when it's raining because you get like the whole.
Do you think the Army or Corps of Engineers asked for permission to do that?
No.
No.
No. They saw a mountain and they blasted a hole through it.
Yeah, which is wild, dude.
Why can't we got to do that? We have to have that mentality saying, we're going to build this road. We're going to do it clean because we've done that. We've proved over generations that we can actually build things and do resource development and do it clean. But we just got to go do it. At some point, you got to put your shoulder into it and you push.
The idea in the delivery gap, or if there's a gap, right?
I was explaining this to someone the other day, and they were talking about resource development in Alaska. And they're like, well, it's such a beautiful state, resources, when you go and do all this development, it's going to ruin the beauty of Alaska. And I kind of look at them, I'm like, you do realize that on a global scale, Alaska has the cleanest resource development and extraction in the world. And so they have to come from somewhere. And if we have to depend on a third world country or China or Russia, just realize their extraction techniques and how clean they do that is not even remotely close. Nope. And you're going to pay a premium on it, right? So
if you really care, wouldn't you want it here? So
you would want it here.
Otherwise, you're outsourcing the environmental problems.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, and I think
it's way worse.
Exactly.
It's still going in the air.
It's way worse, and you have no control over it.
Correct.
Right? And I think we've made a mistake by exporting our manufacturing. Mm-hmm. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But now we're dependent on all these countries that now have leverage on us, which is not a great tactical solution.
And that's one of the things we have to fight for is to bring back. Yeah. And it's the other thing to understand is like, you know what? It does cost more. But is that worthwhile to actually have?
I'll pay extra.
Yeah.
To know that my neighbor's got a great job and benefits and that I have an American-made product.
That is it. I actually actively shop that way. I like find my hunting brands that way. Mm-hmm. There's American-made and sourced brands that I only use.
You like Origin? What are you using for camo?
Forlow.
Okay.
I like their stuff. It fits big guys.
I'm like, Adam probably has a little bit of a problem trying to find stuff that fits.
Well, the Sitka gear is a little tight in the arms.
Sitka gear came out as anti-oil.
I know, I can't believe it.
And so it's like, I already had Sitka gear and I was tempted to burn it. My wife says,
Gore-Tex petroleum base. What are we talking about?
Like, can't do that.
It's like when they were protesting in the kayaks.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, don't you know they made that with oil?
Thank you.
It was. Yeah.
What's the coolest thing when you talk about that? Whenever I get this argument with people about resource extraction in Alaska, the North Slope Borough. North Slope Borough is the greatest example of that. They doubled their life expectancy when oil was there, when the oil started being produced. Yeah. And they actually lead and active. They are one of the only groups in the world who still actively takes bowhead whales. Mm-hmm. And they do that following their subsistence practices using sealskin boats in the spring season. It's unbelievable. And they do that with the oil patch.
It's wild.
And so their example is completely primed. Like, we can do this. They develop there, they live there, they subsist there. And a place that you would never want to visit, let alone live.
Right.
To most of these people, right?
Right.
So, like, don't tell us how we do that. And so I definitely have that Alaska chip on my shoulder as to, like, we're not your national park, we're not your museum.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of misinformation. It might be worth it to whoever's listening to highlight that, right? That we can coexist and this can be something that's sustainable long term.
Yeah, and we've proven it.
Multiple times over.
In multiple regions and multiple settings and ecosystems.
Correct. Yeah.
And we have more Aboriginal culture that's intact that still have their native lands that are still living subsistence. That's pretty rare. Can you find one in the States? I dare you.
Yeah, right.
Right, find one.
Well, the largest domiciled corporations in the state of Alaska are Alaska Native Corps.
That's right.
Yes.
That's most people that don't understand. That's like ASRC is a $5 billion revenue company.
Yeah, it's a big company.
Which is huge. Yeah. The B, billion.
Big B.
Yeah, big B. The forecast of Alaska is fantastic as long as we can make a change and effectively create, these projects, right? We have a lot of shovel-ready projects that are ready to go. Just we need some investment. We need our politicians to see the light, right? And we need public to also understand that this stuff has to happen, in order to keep Alaska moving. It can't just be oil, you know.
Can't. We have to remove ourselves from that boom bust.
Yes.
And on that stuff, it's very easy from administration to administration, either governor, either president, to actually move these things and stop projects and stop start. We have to find a way to do this. And the easiest way to actually make things more durable is the will of the people.
Yeah, 100%.
And this is why we can't accept it anymore. We have to get critical mass of Alaskans who say, this is what we're going to do. We are going to develop our resources in a clean way so we can develop these economies and these safe communities. Because, in my private sector life, I own a large co-owner of the largest post-secondary education school in the state. What I have seen from a socioeconomic side, when people get career-defining skills and what it does to uplift them is unbelievable.
Do you mind if I ask what school?
It's Northern Industrial Training. And so when you train people, that's truck driving, welding, mechanics, those kind of things, those skills, and they go make so much more money than they ever thought possible. These are long, very hard programs, but they go through and they get these jobs. It changes their life. It changes their family life.
Oh, yeah.
And it's unbelievable. We get pictures of people they'll send in with their hats, like wearing their NIT hat on their baby, saying you say I was in jail and I didn't have this, but now I've got the skill. And transitioning service members who get out, we use a lot of them, and these service members come through, get trained, and they stay in Alaska.
Yep. Well, the pay is so great for trades and skills.
And what a great place to drive and road trip.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's AI proof. Work with your hands.
Yeah.
It's AI proof. We've got so much blue collar capacity up here. Come make a lot of money and spend half the year playing.
It's impressive. Yeah. No, I've got quite a few friends who do excavation work or, around the state of Alaska, and they're 5-6 months a year, and the rest of the year they're snow machining. Yep. So it's just living life, man, enjoying the outdoors. Well, normally we ask our guest the 5 things. I know you saw that one, right? About some things and skills you would potentially tell your younger self or another entrepreneur. But I think with your role, we'll change it up a tad.
Okay.
So.
Oh man.
I know.
I had my mental list together.
I know. We'll change it up a tad, and that is what are 5 things that you think the general public should know or be aware of that are potential misnomers or are constant kind of miscommunicated things from either the PFD or just kind of how money works in Alaska?
Ooh, I'd say, so 5 things around that. Oh, man.
I know. It's a tough one.
Okay.
We can always do a few and then resort back to entrepreneur ones.
So I would say in general is, a lot of Alaskans, you'll hear this comment like, oh, what are you doing with my tax dollars? Mm-hmm. Individual Alaskans don't pay taxes to the state.
Okay.
Right? Oil and gas property tax is paid for by the corporations, corporate income tax, oil and gas production tax. There's very few excise taxes that we collect. And so it's one of those, you're probably not paying taxes to the state.
Yeah.
And so from that creates a disconnect. Mm-hmm. There is something to be said about if you are being taxed, you do pay more attention to what is happening with your money.
Yes.
I would say I would hope and pray that Alaskans get a little bit more engaged and understand what is going on. Mm-hmm. We don't have the highest voter turnout numbers in the country. It's not the worst, but it can absolutely be better.
Bad. Yeah.
Municipal level is pretty bad.
Municipal is bad. I think we were at 13% in Anchorage,
which I think was up from the previous,
which is really bad.
Cycle. So we gotta do that. I'd say the Permanent Fund Corporation. It's easy when you see the stock market on this incredible bull run the last couple of years, wondering, oh my gosh, why wasn't everything put in that? It's like, that's not a diversified portfolio.
Yeah.
If you've put everything in the stock market and you've tracked that over time, you'll see that the stock market also crashes.
Yes, it does.
And it creates big deals. And maybe you've heard of the dot-com bubble or the great financial crisis of 2008 with the subprime mortgage loans.
Yes.
There's a lot of movies around those things.
Yes.
And so what the Permanent Fund Corporation's asset allocation is designed to do is to maximize risk-adjusted returns. It says in statute we have to do that. And that is actually trying to get the most money possible, trying to hit our goal of CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, plus 5%. Mm-hmm. It's a very tough goal to get, but that's what we're aiming for at the least amount of risk. Meaning that when you back test that asset portfolio against these great financial crises, that you don't lose everything.
Yep.
And so that's one of those. That's the way it's set up. That's why we're not chasing dollars. Mm-hmm. It's a prudent, steady approach over time just chugging uphill and always trying to make those gains no matter what happens, both the good and the bad.
I feel like me being who, in my role in the state, right? I would want to see the state do long-term sustainable, very safe investments that, we know that are going to be paying us over time, rather than like the stuff where you just, like you said, the boom and bust. It seems more stable. I mean, it definitely is more stable over time, but it seems like it would allow for better planning as well, long-term planning and projections.
Yeah, I mean, and now that it's such a large fund, that you've got a lot more opportunity as such a big fund as well.
Yeah. It's also the hard part of being a big fund, which is maybe this will be another point of this, is being such a big fund. Whenever you do change an asset allocation, a 2% change is over $1 billion.
Yes. I didn't even think about that.
And so, like, if you change your asset allocation to add an extra $1 billion from one source, say into equities or fixed income,
right,
that changes the very market you're investing into.
Makes sense.
Right.
And so there is a prudent approach that has to be weighed out, and you have to have external advisors and consultants and everything. That's why we go about that basis, both at a permanent fund corporation as well as within Treasury. Because again, we're managing $53 billion there.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Other stuff about Alaska.
That was 3.
Whew.
If you want, you can swap up the last 2.
I would just say I wish, and it's my hope, that because it can't just be the legislature, and it can't just be the governor's office. Everybody's going to have a polarizing, dogmatic view from whoever that messenger is.
Yes.
I hope that respected third-party groups will start more of an educational front on what various new revenue sources look like and have honest conversations with the public. I'm not sitting here saying I have the best answers. I'm saying I've studied it, and I think a lot of people have, but I think you have to have honest conversations. And I do believe that if you are going to tax the public has to be involved in that conversation.
Yeah.
So I hope that there is some more active engagement on that from respected groups as opposed to just the legislature or just the governor.
Yeah.
Man.
Let's call somebody out. Who needs to go to work? But you're right about that. I think that's a lot of the turmoil comes from misinformation and not education, right?
Yeah.
Just people just don't understand how this stuff works.
Well, and just headlines, right? Just following headlines.
Yeah, but it's tough now. I mean, you don't know what to believe anymore with headlines and stuff. So I think coming from a trusted source, it might be worth it. And I think it would have to be someone other than the state.
Yeah.
Some interested third party.
Okay.
It's like, who even does that?
Last one.
I don't know if I have a fifth one on the money.
But you can do a 5th one.
So I do have one that I'd like to share. So
of course.
Listening to your compilation video was pretty cool. It is a poignant one that I got early in my career, and it's so easy to do to be a know-it-all and try to actually get this information and or to immediately just clap back at somebody who brings you bad news. But as a leader and anybody in that, I would say one of the best tools, whether that be public service or whether that be as an entrepreneur, if you're a boss or any leadership role, is do not shoot the messenger.
I don't think we've had that one. It's a new one.
And to me, that has been something that I try to focus on even amongst my staff that I train to have that conversation, because you have to be willing to hear bad news, because that in turn means you create a culture where people are willing to share bad news, as opposed to hide that. Because if you have the bad news, you can correct it. And that is something that I think is a critical aspect that a lot of leaders fail to put enough weight into. Is that being able to hear and not be petty about getting bad news. So don't shoot the messenger. Thank them for bringing that forward and actually being able to deal with it. That is something that I think is a critical tool.
Pretty hard to fix a problem you don't know about.
And it's amazing how much that happens.
I see it all the time. Yeah, when I worked for the Muni, it was constant. It depended on who was the next person up, right? Or their superior, right? It was just they would hide stuff or break it to someone else
until it got so bad.
Yeah, until it was just you couldn't. 100%. But if you had the culture of accepting that kind of stuff, saying, "Hey guys, if there's an issue, please bring it forward so we can take care of it," and not disciplining the people that do that, and just realize people are human, and people make mistakes.
Right.
It's not always intentional. It's human error is a relevant thing.
It's tough to go through life thinking everybody's out to get you.
Yeah.
That is no way to live life.
That is no way to live.
So you gotta give grace. You have to have grace in your heart and understand that, believe the best in people that they're trying to.
100%.
And then if they prove themselves doing that, then you have to take care of that swiftly.
Yep.
But don't just assume it.
Okay. I know you came in prepared with 5 of the other ones. Do you want to add a bonus one?
Oof. Actually, it was about grace as well.
Okay.
Just it's the way you treat people. And Alaska's too small of a state.
That's right.
You never know who you're going to run into, or you meet somebody, and then that guy's brother actually knows you. And
yeah,
it is unbelievable. On a weekly basis, I'm consistently amazed at how intertwined we are. There is no 6 degrees of separation up here.
It's like
it's
2.
2.
Yeah,
it is 100% 2.
Yeah, and at most.
And that means you're only 2 degrees of separation from somebody having someone's cell phone that gets back to you or your boss or some business deal that you're working on.
That is one thing I like living in Alaska is that the politicians and the policymakers are so accessible. Like I'm going to run into them somewhere and be like, hey, real quick, got a minute? I know. So
don't speak ill of people. Make sure you try and work things out. And Alaska's too small. You got to have grace for each other and understand that. The other thing is too, if you're living in Alaska, and everyone's like, what does it take to be an Alaskan? To me, it's a winter. If you live in a winter in Alaska, regardless of where that is, you're an Alaskan.
Yeah.
That's my base litmus test because it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm born and raised in Alaska. I couldn't live in Fairbanks. Those people are tough as nails. I got to give it to them.
I did a year and I was like, nope. Nope, this is not the place.
If you're in Alaska and you live here, I got respect. I respect you for being here.
Except for this last winter. That doesn't count.
That is true. It was pretty mild.
That's true. But it makes hard people, man. It's cold. They're out there shoveling snow and shit before they go to their job.
Yeah.
Like, not for everybody.
Yeah. No. Is there anything you want to share before we sign off?
I just appreciate what you're trying to do. Actually, growing things like this to get the message out, to actually create a platform for Alaskans to talk about what's going on, issues that we're facing, is an important thing.
I think so.
I think this is a burgeoning industry that's important. We have to do, and I'm honored to be here. Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Man, sure appreciate you coming on. I mean, seriously, thanks for taking that. I mean, I know you're busy, so it's not like you're running $100 billion. So really, truly, I mean, I have a lot of respect for you. I know you'll do great things, and thank you so much for taking on the opportunity and time to come on our podcast and share all your information. So awesome. As far as like getting a hold of you, is there a place I know a lot of people don't want to contact the commissioner directly, but
if you got questions, dor.alaska.gov.
Okay.
Got all the information on the Treasury Division of things like that, and all the respective boards. We go through them. So Permanent Fund Corporation, apfc.org. Go through that. We try to actually encourage the trustee that the comms team allows both the public interface a lot. So we have public. Our new board chair, Jason Bruni, we actually have public testimony at the start and the end of every meeting.
That's amazing.
So people actually can hear what we've said, and if they've got comments, to actually do that again.
That's great.
That's important, I think.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys do that.
Yeah. I need to get him on next.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, well, thanks so much again for coming on, and we'll give her a quick sign off. All right. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, buddy.